To discuss about how we can build .NET Core Web API and how we can consume this .NET Core API using Angular UI, and finally we can discuss about the commonly asking interview question and answers based on this video. So now this video contains three parts. First one is implementing .NET Core API, which is a basic version of .NET Core API, and the second part would be consuming any API using Angular application, and third part you can see the interview question and answers commonly asking based on this video. So now the application is running, and here .NET Core API works as a server and it is running under 7242 port, and this is my local URL. It contains three endpoints. Here get, post, delete, three endpoints which are available, and based on these endpoints we can create to-do item, we can get all the available to-do items, and we can delete any of the to-do item based on the ID. So now let's see whether we have any of the to-do items which are stored. So currently we don't have any to-do items which are stored, and now I'm going to create a to-do item using Swagger page. Swagger page is a test page for testing .NET Core APIs. As a developer, we can configure the Swagger and we can test the .NET Core APIs. Test to-do item from API, to item 1 from API, execute, and the to-do item is saved, and the to-do item is given with the ID number 1, and I'm creating another to-do item with item 2. The second item is saved, and with the get endpoint we can see all the available stored to-do items, and using delete to-do endpoint we can delete any of the to-do item based on the ID. We have to pass the ID and we can delete it. So using delete endpoint we can delete the item based on the ID. Once it is deleted, if we see the available to-dos, we are seeing only one item now. Now we can see the same functionality from UI, Angular UI. So Angular UI is currently running, and whenever the page is loading, Angular UI page is loading, it will fetch all the available to-do items. Currently we have only one to-do item. Now from Angular UI I'm creating the to-do item from Angular. It is saved from API Swagger page. We can see whether it is saved or not. It is saved, and we are able to see the to-do item which is saved. And if we delete any to-do item, delete endpoint will be called and that item will be deleted, and accordingly we can see whether that item deleted or not. So from UI it is working properly, and from API we have tested the same scenario. So now we need to understand how it is implemented, how we can consume any of the API using Angular. So currently Angular application is running under 4200 port, and .NET Core API is running under 7242 port. So now we can understand .NET Core implementation. Here the important implementation points will be discussed here. So to-do controller which is implemented, and the to-do controller is one of the controller which is implemented under controllers, and to-do controller contains three endpoints. This is a get endpoint. Get endpoint is fetching all the data which is available. Currently the data is storing in memory. That means it is not stored in the database, it is just storing in memory. So when we are stopping the application, the in-memory data collection will be cleared. So If we want to store permanently, we have to choose the data store like SQL Server or Postgres or Oracle, any of the data store, and then the data will be persisted, and we can fetch the data continuously once it is stored. The second endpoint, which is implemented with add endpoint, which is it will receive a to do item, and to do item is nothing but we are passing id, title is completed. These three properties we are passing when we are creating the to do. So here we are passing these three items. That three items related information will be call it as to do item, and that to do item will be the payload for this add endpoint, and that to do's will be stored accordingly. And delete endpoint, based on the id we are deleting the deleting the to do's, so that will be deleted based on the id, and it will find based on the id from the collection, and it will be deleted. So that's how it is implemented. And to do store contains currently in memory storage. This in memory storage collection will be available until and unless running the application period. And we can see how it is implemented. Now the important point here, we have CORS enabled. CORS is nothing but if any of the application to be communicated to .NET Core API, we should allow the CORS. Then only that application will be unblocked, and our API will allow to get the request and response. So using add CORS configuration, we can allow the API. Currently it is a default way of enabling the CORS. If we have any specific CORS enabling mechanism, we have to change the CORS policy here, and this CORS will be available using use CORS. So these two steps are required to enable CORS. And if Swagger page is working, because Swagger page is enabled based on this configuration. If we have this configuration, then Swagger page will work. Swagger page is nothing but this one. So with these two basic configurations, we can see the Swagger page, and CORS will be enabled, and then our application is running. Now we can see Angular implementation. In Angular implementation, the important points will be like we will create a component, and that component contains the HTML and TypeScript file and service file. Three type of files are required. If we have any custom CSS, then we can implement the CSS here in to do a CSS file. So now in HTML, it is a basic UI, and here we have this basic UI. This basic UI related will be implemented here. And here we are seeing title, and we are seeing delete button, and this will be to do TS will contains that component based implementation where we can see the TypeScript logic to loading the to do's and adding to do and deleting to do. And this internally calls the service to do service, and that to do service will have the logic to communicate to the API URL, and this will be HTTP XUS call, and this XUS call will call the URL, and it will return the data of the get to do's. And when we are passing the payload, we can pass the to do add to do payload data, and it will be saved, and when we are passing the ID, it will be deleted based on the ID. So here the app HTML will be rendering based on this to do component. Our to do component selector would be app to do, and app to do accordingly our page is rendering, our component is rendering. And app TypeScript is important, where we are importing a to do component, and that to do component will be rendered based on these imports. So now we have seen the flow of the application. So basically this HTML is implemented using 2D HTML, and TypeScript logic will be implemented here on init. Initialized time we are loading all the to-dos, and loading all to-dos will be working based on the get to-dos method, which is available in service tiers. And other add to do will be called based on add to do, and delete to do will be called and delete to do service method. So now we can understand the important interview question and answers, like what is ngModel. ngModel is a directive in Angular used for two-way data binding. So that means ngModel is allows us to, it is a directive in Angular, and it used for two-way data binding, and it synchronizes data between UI input field and component variable. So this is a component variable, and this will be UI input will be stored based on the ngModel, and accordingly it will work. So this is the component variable, and this is the input control. Input control will be binded based on ngModel directive. And when the user changes the input value, the component variable updates automatically. If the component variable changes, the UI also updates automatically. So that's how ngModel will work. Interview short answer will be ngModel is used for two-way data binding between the UI and component data in Angular. And the second question will be, what are component lifecycle hooks in Angular? Component lifecycle hooks are like we have ngOnInit, ngOnChange, ngAfterViewInit, ngOnDestroy. So here we have component lifecycle hooks. We have used ngOnInit. OnInit is currently loading all the to-do items. So currently the interview short answer would be, lifecycle hooks are predefined Angular methods that execute during different stages of component lifecycle. In our stage of lifecycle would be ngOnInit lifecycle component hook is rendering all the to-do items. And the third question would be, why do we use services in Angular? We have services, we have service, to do service. So why do we need services? Services are used to store reusable business logic separately from components. So we have a common logic here which is implemented in services, that will be used for reusing multiple times. So benefits of services: reusability, cleaner code, separation of concerns, easy maintenance. Services are used to store reusable business logic and API communication outside the component. And what is dependency injection in Angular perspective? Dependency injection is a design pattern where Angular automatically provides the required objects dependencies to a class instead of manually creating them. Here in our example we have services like to-do service. To-do service will be available, and it is a dependency injection which is used in our application. So to-do service object, Angular creates a to-do service object automatically. It injects into the component constructor. Benefits of dependency injection like loose coupling, better testing, easy maintenance, improved scalability. And interview short answer would be dependency injection is a design pattern where dependencies are provided by the framework instead of creating them manually. And the final important interview question would be what is observables in Angular? Observables is an RxJS feature used to handle asynchronous data streams, mostly used for API calls, real-time data, event handling, async operations. So these are the areas Angular HTTP methods returns observables. So here we have API endpoints get, post, delete, and we are subscribing for them using subscribe, and these are the observables we have used. And interview observables is used to handle asynchronous data stream in Angular. So why is CORS is required? CORS is nothing but cross origin resource sharing. So CORS is nothing but cross origin resource sharing. Angular frontend runs on origin endpoint, and backend API runs on another origin port. So these are running in using different endpoints. Browser securely blocks API's request by default uh, for security purposes. And when we are allowing CORS allowed front-end applications from different origins to securely access backend APIs. Thank you friends, thanks for your time. For more this kind of technical videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.